Wow. Thank you, Dana, for that very kind welcome. I am truly humbled to be here. I'm going to start with a story. It's April 13th, 1988. My 4 friends and I have decided to take a detour to the girls' locker room instead of checking into our religious school classrooms. We would skip class. It was going to be so cool. But after 30 minutes of attempted silence, stuffed in a small shower stall with 4 other giggling girls, not to mention the realization that I was sitting on the floor of a community shower, I'm having my doubts. I think about this story often, and many other personal anecdotes from my adolescence that depict myself as something, well, other than your model religious school student. For example, I was sometimes known to be the one sitting in Principal Jack Millad's office writing Slihot over and over again in a little blue book. For those of you who don't know, Slihot means forgiveness in Hebrew. We'll just leave it at that. I was young and very naive. My husband Matt and I moved to Austin in January 2007 from San Diego, California. It is the 5th city I've lived in since graduating from college here at UT in 1999. We picked Austin because it had a young Jewish community, I'm seeing tonight, and because we felt it would be a great fit for our ambitions and our lifestyle. We also loved the fact that my first cousins, Becca and Scott Siegel, were already here, and that they had a daughter, Carly, who was a few months older than our newborn son, Jack. We would have instant family. But moving to a new city is never easy. Jack was 10 weeks old when we arrived. Matt was starting a medical practice on his own, and I, although having completed my PhD in clinical psych, was staying home with Jack. We moved into a house in desperate need of being remodeled. In fact, it was so bad that my mother, here tonight, having driven up with me from Dallas to help us unpack boxes and get settled with the newborn, took one look around, looked at Matt and I and said, "Can't you get your money back?" I had a pit in my stomach, that empty feeling. We were going to start over once again. Would this ever feel like home? Did we make the right choice? Should we have stayed in San Diego, where we were so happy, or moved to Dallas, where my family was? Shortly thereafter, our second child was born, Emily, in 2008. Obviously, Matt and I don't have any trouble doing it, and that's doing it number 1. We had a beautiful baby naming ceremony at Sheriff Israel in Dallas, officiated by Rabbi Gershon, who was the same rabbi that married Matt and I 4 years earlier. After the event, my mother-in-law asked me to show her around. She is from Florida, and had never been inside our synagogue. As I walked around with her, I pointed out the bima, where I became a bat mitzvah, the religious school classrooms, where when I wasn't skipping, I was president in the 6th grade, and named many of my friends who she knew today that could be traced back to all those wild moments in that very sanctuary. The friends from those days are still some of my closest friends today, even as we are scattered all across the United States. It dawned on me then that I was feeling an incredible sense of safety, comfort, and nostalgia in the very place that for all those years I had childishly tried to escape. This was my synagogue, my childhood. Walking around with my mother-in-law was my defining moment. A realization that I wanted and needed to create the same safe sense of Jewish identity here in Austin for my family as I had had in Dallas growing up. My first experience with the Jewish community here in Austin was early one morning at the JCC for a Mommy and Me playgroup. I took Jack and we got there, and I was surprised to see so many moms and so many young babies. A few of the moms were acquaintances of mine from college or maybe before, but many of them were new. We all had 3 things in common. We were moms, we were settling our family in Austin, and we were Jewish. From this experience, I began to add to my small group of friends. Slowly, I was becoming more comfortable with our life here in Austin. That pit in my stomach was shrinking. My next influential experience came a few months later. Jennifer Greenblum, a family friend from Dallas, asked me to sit at her table at Book Lovers Luncheon at the JCC during the Jewish Book Fair. Walking into the JCC that morning, I was nervous. Did I wear the right thing? Would I know anybody? Would I have anything to talk about? Who was going to be there? But as I was introduced to the women sitting at my table, I met an inspiring group of women, many of whom have played a large part in creating our Jewish community that exists in Austin today. An avid reader, I loved the program and loved hearing the author speak. But more importantly, I felt incredibly welcome. I volunteered that day to be a table captain at the Women's Division Mosaic event. I am pretty sure I had no idea what the Women's Division was. I definitely didn't know what Mosaic was other than some sort of an art creation. How was I going to fill my table? Who would I get to come with me? Those answers would come to me later, but as I left the J that day, I was filled with an incredible high. It was another significant moment for me. The Austin Jewish community was a vibrant community filled with warm, enthusiastic, and intelligent people, and I wanted to be a part of all of it. Giving back to the Jewish community is something my family has done my entire life. My grandfather, Zay, played a large part in helping to build the Jewish community in Galveston, Texas. He served as president of his congregation for 2 terms, served on the JCAA board, which later became Federation, and blew the shofar during the high holidays. And I know he is looking down on me right now. My grandmother, Nani, who's the source of the famous doozy sandwich from Dallas, Texas, is also an active member of the Dallas community. She served as chair of many committees with her synagogue, with Israeli Bonds, and with Hadassah. My parents, who are both here tonight, are also active members in the Dallas community. For as long as I can remember, my mom has been a table captain for their women's event and a member of the Pomegranate Society. She's been chair of several events and is a patron chair for the JCC. My dad has chaired the Real Estate Division of Federation in Dallas and served on both the BBYO and ADL boards. He served on numerous committees, including the Dallas Federation Allocations Committee. Both my parents are lifelong members of their synagogue and on the patron committee for the upcoming 100-year gala for the Dallas Jewish Federation. My family showed me that the Jewish community was a vital part of my life and how it was very important to give back in order for that vitality to continue to grow and exist. In the last 4 years, I've had the honor of serving on numerous cabinets and committees within the JCAA. Along the way, I've formed lasting friendships, created a sense of community and a network of support, and gained the knowledge that I am helping to build what will one day be a bigger and better community for our children and their generation. I look to the communities of Dallas and Houston and see them as an example of established, thriving Jewish communities. Many of the people there are 4th and 5th generation Dallasites or Houstonites. There are many other communities around the world on the other end of the spectrum that are struggling. They're shrinking. They're struggling to stay alive. People aren't moving back to those communities, so there's nobody there to sustain them. Here in Austin, we have what I feel is a very unique opportunity. Austin is one of the youngest Jewish communities in the U.S. Most of us are either 1st or 2nd generation Austinites. Raise your hand if you're more than a 1st or 2nd generation Austinite. I see about 10, 11 hands in the room. Austin is also the fastest growing Jewish community in the nation. There's an estimated population of 18,000 Jews in Austin, and our population is expected to double in the next 15 to 20 years. Of those 18,000, we have 1,800 individuals that currently contribute to our annual campaign. My question is this: can we ask 10% of our community to support our entire Jewish community? I don't think we can. And this is where we come in. The Young Adult Division is a critical link in our community. By being here tonight, each of you is showing that you are already a leader in your community, that you already believe in this cause, that you want this to exist. Your contributions of both time and money are critical in building the foundation for our future Jewish community. We are getting in at the ground floor. I believe with our enthusiasm, fresh ideas, hard work, and dedication, that we will ensure that Austin continues to be a mecca for new families and generations to come. I also feel we're setting the same example that my parents set for me for our children. Right now, I'm just loving watching them do things so many of us did in preschool: sing Hamotzi, say the prayers for Shabbat, light the Hanukkah candles. But I have to tell you one thing. The pit in my stomach is no longer present. And I feel ever confident that we are living in a city filled with possibility and opportunity. I can't thank you enough for this honor. I have to be really honest with you. When Margot Smith and David Klein called me a few months back and asked me to come to coffee with them, I was certain they were just going to ask me to increase my pledge. I never thought that I would be asked to be the recipient of tonight's Hineni Award. This award holds great meaning for me, not so much because I feel proud to be honored for my contributions, but rather because it signifies a welcoming community for my family and myself. A big thank you to the Milestone Committee. This event is really great, and thank you guys. I also want to take a minute to thank Jay Rubin, Liza Levine, Dana Epstein, and Rebecca Aronowitz, along with the rest of our incredible JCAA staff, for all your hard work and support. We could not do it without you guys, and I think you deserve a round of applause. I also want to thank all the men and women who have served with me, especially Margot Smith, Valerie Newberg, Dana Baruch, and Helen Gilbert. You guys have encouraged me to deepen my involvement in this Jewish community, and I want to thank you for being my mentors and my friends. I also want to thank my friends for allowing me to twist their arms to get involved in one way or another. Many of you are here tonight, and I thank you guys. And last, but certainly not least, I want to thank my husband Matt and our children for all their support, but more importantly, for their understanding when on some nights, instead of a home-cooked meal, Jack and Emily get to eat McDonald's nuggets and fries, and Matt, you have to too. In a few years, Jack and Emily will be old enough to start attending religious school. I cannot wait for them to be immersed in their local Jewish community. I want them to learn about Judaism, make new and meaningful friendships, and most importantly, try every possible way to skip class. Unfortunately for them, I know all the tricks. Thank you again for this honor, and more importantly, thank you for inviting me into your community.
She did great.
It was great. It was great.
I cried the whole time.
We're not going to
Sure, you let me finish.